Hey guys, George here, glorytoamerica.com. Today I'm going to show you how to switch out the slide stop spring on your P938. And you can use this, anybody who has a P238, which is the 380 version of this gun, it's the same exact process. As a matter of fact, it's the same exact part. So the P238 as well as this 938 both share the same exact slide stop as well as the slide stop spring. So anybody who's been following this P938, which I guess I've had it for about maybe 2 months now, you guys know that, and I'll put the link in the description below, but anybody who's not familiar with my channel, or if you happen to find your way to this video, basically you got to be real careful with these slide stop springs. So when you're cleaning your gun or taking it apart for inspection, it's very easy to bend this slide stop spring out of shape, especially if you're not aware of it being there. So I'm just going to break this down and show you. Now mine falls out, and that's part of the reason why we ordered the new one. But this slide stop spring just goes right in here like so, and then you'll need something to push it in place. I'm going to go back over this. I just want to give you a quick little recap for anybody who's not familiar with what happened and why this is this way. So basically your spring just goes in there like that, and this being my first 938, and I never did have a 238 or a Colt Mustang, which I believe all has the same setup here. Being unfamiliar with this particular design, while I was cleaning the gun after the first 275 rounds, I was pulling on this spring really good, and I didn't know I was doing it, but you know, with my rag, it got caught on the rag a couple times, as well as with my brush when I was going in there and brushing out all the carbon deposits and everything. So what happened is I really bent this spring out of shape, and then when I finally noticed that I was bending it out of shape, I did my best to try and reshape it. But with springs, you got to be real careful. Once they lose their integrity, it's most of the time you just have to get a new spring. Once it loses its springiness, that's it. But in any event, I bent it back to a pretty decent shape, and it seems to be like it was okay. But again, you guys can check out the other video if you haven't already seen it, but I called Sig's customer service and they sent me out a new spring. So it took about a week for it to get here, and I requested that they send me the spring. I didn't want to send my gun in unless I absolutely have to, because it was running perfect before I did that. So I'd rather just change out the part myself. Anytime it's a part that I could work on, I always request that I could, you know, from any gun company, I would rather do it myself. But anyway, so here it is. It just came in, and let's cut this open. Alright, that's it. The packing list is on the outside, so there's no other papers on the inside, just the part itself. And there's the new one. So, alright, we don't need to see the packing list. That's all we need right there. So let's get right into it. Now I want to show you how to take the old one out. If you haven't done so already, and if you haven't taken your spring out and you're not having a problem with it, whether you have a P238 or a 938, then there's no reason to take it out. So if you're not having a problem and everything on your gun is working fine, then I don't suggest ever messing with it. Just leave it alone. Just be careful when you clean it. Otherwise you'll do what I did, which is bend it out of shape. So I have a feeling that this happened to a lot of people, and they may not have even realized what they did, because it seems like the few blogs that I've read online and some of the videos that were uploaded by some 938 owners and also some P238 owners, a lot of them are having troubles with the slide locking back. And I think, as a matter of fact, I would probably know that it was because of this spring. They probably did the same thing I did. They probably bent it out of shape. So anyway, let's get into it. Best thing to use is a pick like this here. So mine comes out real easy now because I've already been through this and I've already dug it out. But it's important to note that the first time I ever did this, sorry guys, I'm just adjusting the camera here, but as I'm talking. The first time I ever did this, this spring was super hard to get out. I mean, it was locked in there really good. You guys might have remembered me saying in the other video that it was almost like it was welded in there. So I believe that they either weld it or epoxy it in there at the factory, because it was really hard. But this is what I did. You could use a knife even. Okay, you could put a knife under there like so. So anything like that, but I tend to use this pick. I like it, and it's a perfect angle. So get your pick, get it right on under there, push as hard as you can, and then you want to just kind of pry up on it. And again, of course, mine comes right out. But it's not going to come out easy. Okay, guys, I can't stress that enough. If this is the first time you've ever done this, don't expect it to come right out. You're going to have to pull pretty hard. Anyway, pop that spring out. And there's the old one. Here's the brand new one. So it looks like I got it pretty good. When I reshaped it, it looks like the one that I bent and reshaped is almost identical. I'll see if I can give you a good view here as the factory one. So I did a pretty good job reshaping it, but it's definitely not perfect. It definitely needed work. Just show you the difference here. So the top one, this is the one that I bent and reshaped, and this one here, the bottom one, is the factory, the brand new one that they just sent me. So there's the new one, and here's the reshaped one. So almost the same. I had pretty good confidence after I reshaped it. If I had to stick with that spring, and if for some reason I was never able to put a new spring in, I'd be pretty confident. I got it pretty good. But there's definitely a difference. I could see the brand new one, how it's angled a little bit differently. See that? That's your main difference. Mine lost that angle. Check this out. See the way mine's is straight? That's the angle. That it's really hard to get that angle back into it. I tried. I kind of knew it was supposed to go like that, but it's just so hard to get it perfect. So that's what I mean. See the difference? Once the spring loses its integrity, it's just a pain in the ass to get it back, and then you're really not 100% sure. They become brittle. The more and more you bend these things, they become brittle, and eventually they could break. You're putting little micro fractions inside the steel. So you want to be careful about that anytime you mess with springs. Now to replace it, just as simple as when you took it out. Let me make sure I give you guys a really good shot of this. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is put the end that goes in the hole, line it up on top of the hole, kind of get it started. Alright, so my thumb is covering it. See that? If I take my thumb off, it pops out, so I'm just going to show you. Alright, so it's over where it's supposed to be, and I'm covering it with my thumb. Now the reason why I'm covering it with my thumb is because you're going to pull up on it with your other thumb or your other finger and get the spring in the groove. See the way it's in there, the way it's supposed to go? Now I can remove my thumb and hold it with the other hand. So now we just need to push it down in there. So it's in place, it's in the correct location, and it looks good. Looks like it's exactly where it's supposed to be. Only thing I have to do now is completely push that back into the hole. So I'm going to take a punch. Alright, got a couple punches here, and here's a good size. Can you hear the way that popped in? That's what you want. So it's in there, and that's your finished product. Okay, so now the only thing left to do put it back together, take it to the range, and see if it works. We'll do some dry fire testing just to see if everything feels good. Yep, slide stop went in with no problem. This is the first time I'm doing this, guys. Obviously, I'm talking about first time I'm using the new one, so you guys are seeing it all live here, but everything looks good. And then what I like to do to test this is I'm going to hold it this way, so we're letting gravity work, and I'm going to rack the slide really hard a few times. So this is what you want to do. I typically do this anytime I take my gun apart anyway. If I take it apart, clean it, and when I put it back together, I rack the slide really hard a few different ways and make sure everything's in there the way it's supposed to. Dry fire it a few times. You never want to just put a gun back together, load it up, and assume that it's going to work when you need it. So anytime you take a gun apart for any reason, you always want to run it through its cycles, you know, dry fire it, work the safety mechanisms if it has any safety mechanisms. You know, in the case of this gun, we're going to put the thumb safety up and down. Thumb safety's working, nothing's going bang. Thumb safety off. So everything looks good. And also what I'm doing, I'm going to let gravity work against that pin, and I want to see how well the spring is holding. So if we hold it this way and rack the slide pretty hard a few times, then the spring should not fall out. If it falls out, we got a problem. If it doesn't, we're looking good. Alright, looks good. That spring is in there tightly. Looks very good. That's what I want to see. And that's exactly how it was when it was brand new, so I'm happy to see that. Now I just can't wait to take it to the range, put a little time in with it again. I'm going to take it out this week, so you guys can be on the lookout for another range report about this.